Guys, it's Jeremy. Going to do a video on step 9, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Okay. We'll say that the amends process needs to continue throughout our life. It's not just a one-time thing. There are on-the-spot amends. There are times we mess up during the day, so it has to continue. But what I did in step 9 was, and I said it in the step 8 making a list video, was I listed the hardest people first. Because the one thing I knew was I didn't want to start with the easy ones. Oh, I'm sorry I stepped on your toe. And then delay or get anxious over the harder ones. So my thought was, do the hardest ones first. You're at the top, and then you're walking down. It's getting easier and easier. You start with I didn't actually rob a bank, but you start with the bank you robbed, and then by the time you're done, I'm sorry I stepped on your shoe. That was my way of looking at it. You face it, you deal with it, you get it over with. I know with my anxiety, I didn't want to make excuses that bank I robbed, they have insurance, so it doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter, again, I didn't rob a bank, thankfully, but that's the way I saw it. What I did was, I don't remember all of them at this point, but what I do remember, what sticks out, is that I did the 3 hardest ones first. There was a 4th one that was pretty difficult, a group that I forgot. I genuinely forgot. It's not that I was pushing it off. It came back to me at like 4 years sober. I'm like, oh my God, how did I forget about that? But what I wound up doing was I called there was 3 people first. It was 2 friends from high school, and one of them I had to get their parents. He actually might wind up watching this video. And I remember there was one guy I called. He's like, all right, whatever. Thank you for calling. Have a nice life. Well, I try to fix my seating here. And there was another guy that I had to call his parents. I didn't have his cell phone number, but I owed an amends to his parents. And I remembered the phone number of the house he grew up in. And I called, and his mother picked up. Obviously, I'm not going to give names, and is this Miss last name? Yes, it is. Hi, this is Jeremy, Glenn's friend from high school. And I said my last name, and I would like to talk. I believe I owe you one of the biggest amends there is. And she knew what I was talking about. And we got to talking, and she says, let me ask you a question. Are you doing this because you're getting sober? I said, yep. And she says, we've been praying for you for years. We saw your evolution from this good kid, and you were going down a bad road. You were becoming evil. And we were praying for you that you would get back to the person you originally were, that we knew you to be. I said, well, this is it. I do anything that you need me to do. Thankfully, I didn't know that, there was one person I owed money. And we wound up having this, I don't want to say hours long, but it was over an hour. I don't know if it was 2 hours, but well over an hour. And we're talking, and this is what they were saying. That was unheard of to me. They were praying for me to get sober. And at the end of the conversation, or maybe whatever it was, I said, would you mind if I spoke to, the kid I grew up with? Would you mind if I took his phone number? And their response was, he may never want to speak to you again. So why don't we take your phone number? If he wants to call you, he will. If not, he won't. He may never want to talk to you again. I'm like, that's actually the right idea. So we hang up the phone after this long conversation, and instantly my phone rings from a number I don't know. Hey, Jeremy, it's Did you just call my parents? Yes, I did. Were you really calling to make amends? And I said, yeah. Are you really getting sober? I said, yeah, I'm in the process. And his parents asked, what number are we? Where are we on the list? I said, you're actually number one. To his parents, obviously. My friend was number two, because after his parents. And we had a long conversation between one with the parents and two with the kid I grew up with. Well, now we're adults, and we had this long conversation. They said, "Yeah, we saw you going down this road that you just became a monster." And that's why I had to this is the kid I grew up with. He goes, now you know why I had to distance myself from you. Now you know why you weren't at my wedding. Now you know why this. Now, and I'm like, don't, dude, I get it. I get it. You know, you can explain it all you want. If it makes you, go ahead. If you feel you have to, explain it away. But I get it. And he explained it. He felt he had to, apparently. And then there was the third guy who apparently I got violent. Which I'm not. I get angry, but not violent. I got violent, and he wasn't invited to his wedding either. And he never wanted to talk to me again, which was fine. I already kind of expected that, because he already wasn't in my life anymore. So for him to say you're not in my life anymore was not that I wanted to hear, but it was not news anymore. He had every reason to walk away from me. I don't remember much after that at the amends that I did at that time when I was first getting sober. But what I do remember, and I will tell you that guy coming back into my life, not the parents, but the guy, the adult, I want to say kid, he did so many things he's going to wind up watching this video, and he'll know it's him that I'm talking about. Helped me with when I went back to college as an adult, getting internships. Through college, I went back to school to become a dietitian. He got me the school. Oh no, was it him or the school that wanted to send me to Brooklyn from 2 counties away, from Nassau County on Long Island? And he wound up getting me an internship 2 towns away, 6 miles up the road. Why not? 6 miles up the road, and it was around the corner from my full-time job. Of course, that makes sense. He wound up, and he's tried to get me jobs. He gives me advice on this, on that, on that, on that. And he took me back, and I've said to him, not that it comes up often, but if the situation was reversed, if he had to make the amends, if he did to me what I did to him, I would have, no, not a shot. Go, get the hell out of here. Have a nice life. God's honest truth, that's what I would have done. And he took me back. I'm like, why would you... Maybe he's normal and I'm not. That could be entirely possible and likely. So if you're watching this, friend, yeah, you're getting a compliment. But some of the other amends that stuck out there was a group of amends that I completely forgot about. It's not that I brushed it off. I forgot. I completely... Like, oh my God, I want to say it was right after I hit 4 years sober. Now this has since become, between the one guy who got me the internships and a group of guys from college. I pledged a fraternity in college. Obviously, I'm not going to say which one, and I'm also not going to say what college I went to. I pledged the fraternity in college with the idea of I wouldn't have friends otherwise. Nobody likes me. I'm less than. I'm not worthy. And I went and I transferred to the college I graduated from, and I pledged a fraternity with bad motives. I was going for friends. Felt like I basically had to go through hell. They wouldn't like me otherwise, and I have to pay for my friends. At its simplest. That's kind of an oversimplification. Pledged a fraternity, and it came back. I'm like, oh my God, how did I completely forget about them? it ended badly with me, my time there. And I started reaching out to people on Facebook. And, hey, man, can we talk? Hey, man, can we talk? Hey, man, can we talk? A couple of guys kind of brushed me off. I don't want to ever talk to you again. They did stuff to me, and then I made, but then I took it and ran with it. And they brought a machine gun, and I dropped a nuclear bomb. So I eventually, you guys want to mess with me? Here we go. And overdid it. And some people got in trouble. And what wound up happening is I called these guys brushed me off, some of them, and some of these guys were like, holy crap, man, thank you for making the amends. And surprisingly, there was a couple of guys that said, Jeremy, we treated you terribly. We've never thought, like a couple of guys, I never would have crossed my mind to apologize. Like we all split up after college. A couple of guys were like, we treated you terribly. You had every reason to walk away from us. Every reason. But what wound up happening was I got together with a couple of the guys I lived in the suburbs of New York City. A couple of us, right after 4 years sober, I was on disability from work. I had a big surgery, took a train into Manhattan, got together with a couple of the guys. But what really hit was 2019. It was 2019. And a couple of guys I never lost touch with, but they invited me to a reunion at the college we went to. It was about 180 miles from where I lived. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And one of the guys that I had to make an amends to, he goes, Jeremy, just come. It's been 17 years since you left. Just come. This person's not going to be here. That person's not going to be here. And that person's not going to be here. Just come. We invited you because we want you there. And so I decided, okay, I didn't want the mileage on my own car. And now that I'm sober, I was going to be the sober driver. I didn't want the damage to my car either. I rented a car, drove up there, drove the 180 miles. I was the second person to arrive, and I was picking up the guy who convinced me to go from the airport. I wound up picking him up somewhere else. He might watch this video also. I picked him up at a cheesecake factory, but I had the time of my life, walked around the college with a couple of the guys. They did some great stuff, and my thing was feeling less than, feeling I wouldn't be included, I wouldn't have friends otherwise. Turns out none of those were true. I would have had friends without the fraternity, but now I still talk to plenty of them, but I don't know about plenty, but we still talk. A couple of people outside the fraternity still talk, but I would have had friends otherwise. I was leading with my insecurities, with the lies I told myself. And on the way back, I called somebody. There was a guy I never lost touch with. He's probably going to watch this video also. We go to the Belmont every year, the Belmont Stakes, every year until 2020. I stopped going because I had moved to where I live now, 1,000 miles away. I don't know if he's still going, and he now is married with kids. But on the way back, I called one of the guys married with kids, and I started crying. He goes, "You all right?" And I'm like, he heard me crying, and what happened? Was it that bad? I said, no. Well, if it was that bad, I could have left the same day I got there. I said, no, man. These are tears of joy. All that stuff, feeling like I wouldn't have friends, feeling I would have been less than, this, that, oh my, whatever, insecurities and in the addiction. I'm like, no, man, these are tears of joy. These are tears of healing. That 18 years after I graduated, I was made whole. There were arguments with the main office of the fraternity, of things that, about they were trying to get money out of me that I had already paid them, and guys taking me off the books. I don't want, it was tears of healing. Now, these guys are back in my life. No matter where we are, there's a guy who lives in Charlotte, which I always forget if it's North Carolina or South Carolina. Call me stupid. But there's a guy who lives in Connecticut. There are guys, we keep talking about getting together. There's a guy who lives 2 towns away from me. We haven't, but there's a guy who lives in a couple hours away. We've talked about meeting in Miami, maybe. I just gave away what state I live in with Miami, but we talk. It's like we've never lost touch, and no matter where we are still brothers. That's what a fraternity is. We're still brothers. There's a guy who lives in Connecticut, was my pledge master. We're still brothers. We love each other. We get along. And all those feelings, the insecurities, the feeling less than, they were dealt with by getting sober and making an amends. And all that stuff had come back to make me whole. I spent 2 years at that college I graduated, a little over 2 years at that college I graduated from, and 2001 I graduated. Now we're in 2023, 22 years later. I'm still whole. I still have these lifelong friends, including my pledge master, that no matter what, we are brothers. There's a guy, we still, no matter what, we live, it's like we live a mile apart and we haven't seen each other in an hour. That's what it feels like. That's what the amends does. All these things, I don't know what any of them feel, but I've been made whole. I'm happy. I have friends no matter where I go, no matter what time of day. And the people that I would have had before the fraternity, been invited to their weddings. We still talk. One of them lives in South Korea. We still talk. There's a girl, she did something to me that doesn't need to be repeated, that we still talk no matter what. I still love them. We're all friends. This is what the amends does. But there's also the people there's the one guy from high school that doesn't want to talk to me ever again. There are people from the fraternity that have a nice life. I don't want to hear from you. I don't need them. I tried. Okay, I don't need him. So that's what amends does. Go make your amends. Go pay back your debts, whatever. Thankfully, there was one guy I owed money to. I tried to contact him. He didn't respond, so I gave the money to the charity. Okay, well, I owed him $400, so $400 to here. Do it. Well worth it. I'm leaving this video with a smile on. I don't see it literally, but with the joy in my attitude. Do your amends, one of the best things you can do, and have a good day.